In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to sell anything to anyone. If you're selling a $500 product, a $1,000 product, $5,000, $10,000, a $20,000 mastermind or course, or even all the way up to a $100,000 program, this works in any industry all the time, especially in online high-ticket sales. And I know this because I've been in this industry and worked with over 190 online coaches in this space. I've personally taken my mindset coaching business to $20,000 a month, and then also taken my business consulting business to $30,000 a month. So I'm not going to give you the fluff. I'm not going to give you the plug and play script, because the reality is sales is not one script away from you making bank with your offer or whatever it is you're trying to sell. It is a specific framework and system you implement that is fluid in every industry you go to. That's why it works. These are set in stone principles that you can take and apply in any business space you're in. So let's get stuck in. So there's a few things you need to prepare before going into your sales call, your closing call, consult call, whatever you call it. First one is mindset. What do I mean by mindset? Well, there's many layers to mindset. There's a lot of things we do outside of these calls that when we come to the call, we have certainty on what it is. One of the things a lot of people I feel like miss is they don't have certainty in themselves and the offer, meaning that whatever you're speaking to, you're not actually doing or implementing in your life. And what you'll get to a point in calls where there's a lot of unspoken energy that gets transferred in these calls. And if you're telling someone, you need to send 100 cold DMs a day, you need to be doing an ice bath every single day, these are the things you need to be on top of to get to X, Y, and Z, and you're not a product of the product, people will sniff that out. They'll smell that out. It's like jumping on a sales call with someone who's extremely overweight and they're telling you how you need to track your nutrition better, you need to get your workouts in. You kind of look at them like, I'm not sure if you're a credible person to help me make this decision. But mindset, you need to be prepared for a no. You need to be okay with that. And when you come into it, it's more of like, hey, let's see if this works. Let's see if this fits you. I will challenge you a bit on the call to see if maybe you do really want this. But outside of that, cool. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's the kind of mindset and demeanor you need to take into the call. It's more of an attraction energy than a grabby energy. The next one is be ready. Don't be scrolling Instagram, TikTok, whatever the hell it is before the call. Take your 5 to 10 minutes, go over the notes. If you're not 100% clear on the pillars and the pitch and the things you want to speak to in your program, you need to be ready for that. The third one is expect a no. High ticket sales, usually if we're closing above 30%, you're in a very good position, depending on your cost per acquisition, your cost per lead, all these things. But if you're closing above 30%, that means every 10 people you speak to, 7 are going to say no. Right? One of the industry standards and the things we know in the space is if you're closing at 10%, that is an absolute expectation. Why? Because 10% of people are coming onto these calls ready to buy. If you're good enough to just not fuck it up too much, you will close these people. Some people are just ready to buy. They want to take action. It's more of a transaction. You're just the person to take the credit card details. Okay? Someone who's good in sales can take someone from a 10% close rate all the way up to a 60%, depending on skill sets. So that's a huge amount of money on the table. The last one is your tonality. Time and time again, when I review sales calls, and especially when people are more in the beginning phases of doing this kind of work, they will speak very monotone. And why do they speak monotone? It's because they're trying to say the right thing on the script. It's more important about how you say something than what you say. There's a couple different distinctions in this, so I'll just give you some examples. We're not going to go too much into tonality on this call. But if you were to speak from more like a concern tone, meaning there's a delay in action, let's use fitness as an example. Someone's extremely overweight and for years or months they've been wanting to make this change and they still haven't made the change, and you would ask them, well, Jeff, this has been going on for a while, man. Have you ever thought about the possibility of if in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now, nothing's changed and you're still the same size, or maybe you're even bigger than what you are now. Have you thought about that? That would be a consequence question, which is in a concern tone. Whereas when you're starting the call very early on, it's very light, it's very surface level. Jeff, have you thought about what happens in 18 months from now and you're still overweight and you still haven't gotten the results you want? That would be more of a connection tonality when you're at the start of the call. Jeff, how you going today? Nice to see you on the call, mate. Depending on tonality can shift the whole question, and it's also going to be the filter and the lens which other people speak through when they answer you. Depending on the tone will set the intention for the answer you get. Now, there's a few steps inside of a sales call. We're going to start with the intro and pre-frame initially. I'm going to give you a little bit of a script. There's a couple different reasons and a couple different scenarios you can use this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through all the stages of the sales script, and then also some objection overcomes at the end. But to be honest, if your discovery is really good, your understanding of the person, your connection you build with them is really good, you don't need objection handling overcomes as much. If you don't get the discovery down pat and you're not really dialed on that, you will end up just in an objection war, and you'll think the reason people aren't buying is because you're not overcoming the objections properly, where the reason people aren't buying is because your discovery probably wasn't good enough or your pillars aren't dialed for who you're speaking to. And we're going to fix both of those on the call today. The first stage of a sales call is the intro and pre-frame, right? We're going to start down here and we're going to go into, this is more of a B to C. Hey, Jeff, it's Mikhail. How are you? There's a bit of small talk there. Now, don't think the more small talk you create, the more rapport you build. People know why they're getting on call, no matter what you call it, consult call, strategy session, whatever. People know they're getting on a call to potentially buy something, okay? So don't feel like you need to find out what the weather's like and how many kids they got and what they done on the weekend and what they got planned next weekend. What'll happen here is if you go too much into this space, you'll start becoming more of you'll get into the friend zone, essentially. Like there's an edge we want to walk on, and there's an authoritative position, and there's also a friendship position. So if you go too much buddy-buddy with them, they won't see you as an authority in the space. And what's going to happen is later on the call, when it comes time to make a decision, they're going to just friend zone you. They're not going to see your input, your questioning as a place of authority. So they might not go as deep, and they're going to avoid making a decision on the call. Hey, Jeff, it's Mikhail. How you going today? It's going to be a bit of small talk there. You know, how's your day been? Yeah, it's been good. All right, cool. Like, you just finished work? Yeah, just walked in the door. Awesome, Jeff. Okay, cool. Well, let's dive in. Are you ready to go? You want to make sure you get acknowledgement here. It's part of running a sales call is taking frame and control, but you want the person on the other side to think they're in control because they answer the questions, but you're actually just navigating and pushing the framework around. Just like if you'll go to a doctor, right? You walk into the doctor's consult, he's asking you about your headache. How long's it been? How bad is it? What have you tried before? How does this affect other areas of life? Out of a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? What do you want to do moving forward? Do you want to completely get rid of this? What are you willing to invest? Like, this is the doctor taking control, the frame of control, but they're there for you to answer the questions to better understand what you want to do moving forward. Awesome. So on the call today, I'm going to ask you a few questions to figure out where you're at and what you feel like you need help with. If I can help, I'll let you know what that looks like. If I can't help, I'll send out some information or refer you to someone who could be a better fit. My goal today is just to point you in the right direction. Does that sound good? This frame is a disarming frame. Like, we're like, hey, Jeff, if today isn't a fit at all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to point you to someone else that I think could be a better fit. Sound good? Like, it's detached, right? I hate sales scripts, and some sales trainers will teach this. So what we're really looking for today is a clear decision. Like, it's going to be a yes or no. We don't really want anyone in a maybe, so that by the end of the call, can you commit to me that you can give me a yes or no by this call? That kind of question I hate, especially if you're speaking to someone who has experience in sales or runs a business. There's a high chance they've been on these kind of calls before. And if you position sales tactics to someone who has experience in business, they're going to know exactly what the fuck you're doing, and it's going to feel icky, and they're going to pull away and they're going to pull out. Someone who's more experienced in this space, like when you're selling B2B, which is what I do a lot, you're just dropping the script essentially and just having a conversation with them to see if it's even something you can help with. Move away from sales tactics and this kind of like, would you be opposed to this question stuff, unless you're speaking to someone and your market is someone who's probably hasn't been on one of these calls before, because there is, with good intentions, the stuff works, but don't use it on other people who run businesses. It happened to me this week. A guy tried to invite me to an event, and then was like, come on, like, if you're really committed, like, you can make a decision right now. Or this is only for people that are really committed. And I know exactly what's happening. You're trying to create some kind of urgency to make a decision now so you can get a sale, so I'll come along. I just stopped writing back because I know exactly what you're doing. Just have a conversation with me, man. Anyway, as my little vent. And there's a B2B as well. So I like this very much. Like, if you've gone on a call with me, you would have heard me say this. I don't read 100% off the script, but it's essentially the frame of it, right? Hey, name. You can have a bit of small talk here. You can just dive straight in. Look, I've got another call in the next hour. It'd be great if we could dive straight in. Are you good to go? Cool. That's a very authoritative frame. Like, if they're a professional, they're going to respect that as well. Look, I would say the first part of this call is really for us to find out more of like what you're doing now as far as scaling or building your business, insert the outcome you help them with. And then I would say then we see what you are looking for and see if I could actually help. And if I can help, I'll let you know what that looks like. Are you ready to dive in? Ready to go? So you're leaning out completely. You're like, I'm not even sure if this will be a thing for you, but if it is, hey, I'll walk you through that. Sound good? Cool. So the intro pre-frame is, it is super, super important, but it also isn't, right? and I'll explain what I mean. So the first date, when you go on a first date with someone, your first impression is like super, super important, right? What do they say? Do they hug you? Do they shake your hand? Do they kiss you on the cheek? Like, what's the first question they ask? How do they look? How do they speak? What's their posture? What's their mannerism? All this stuff is important, but the reason it's important is because it opens the next doors and the next channels for that conversation, that relationship to eventually unfold. If you don't have a good first impression, you can't segue onto deeper questions and better understanding most of the time. When you can open these channels and disarm someone and have someone lean in, that's when you're going to get much better results as you go along. Now, from here, this is the intro pre-frame. The next part is going to be the discovery. This is where a lot of people will skip over too long. Usually your call will be about 45 minutes to an hour, depending what you're selling and who you're selling to. In the discovery, there's quite a few things we want to unpack, okay? One of the things we want to do is before we even get on sales calls with people, we need to make sure our 3 pillars are dialed in. And I help people do this inside the hybrid method. You want to make sure you have your 3 pillars dialed in a unique way. So what you sell and what you speak to is a solution for the market you're speaking to. Depending how you structure these will depend how often you're closing calls. It's a big part of it. Every single offer that gets created, now when I say offer, it's like, what is the journey or process you take someone down? And essentially it looks like this. You will speak to people that are in CS, stands for current state. This is the state they're in. This is what they're looking. They're looking for a change. They're looking for a solution. They're looking for help to something. And what's going to happen here is, these are some amazing arrows, by the way. Your offer, which is essentially here, is going to be the path, going to be the bridge, going to be the gateway for them to get that result. And the DS is the desired situation. This is where they want to be at the end of this. Okay, I'm going to use a fitness example. It's very transferable. Maybe we play around with some other ones on the call today. So first of all, you need to think through the lens of like, what does this person need, or what is the thing they need at the front end of their journey to get to this goal? Now, most of the time, it's going to be one of two things for fitness. It's going to be like nutrition. It could be the training program as well. There could be a couple of different options here. Pillar nutrition. The next one's going to be, your training plan. And then the last one might be like optimizing. That's a P. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make on sales calls is they jump on a call and they go, yeah, I'll tell you about the program. Well, what happens here is in the first part of the program, I'm going to get your nutrition. You're going to get 48 meal plans. You're going to get access to a recipe book with over 300 different recipes. I'm going to give you a fitness tracker. We can track your food. We can track your workout. And then from there, I'm going to give you a training program. So what I'm going to do every single week, I'm going to send you a new training program to make sure it gets you to XYZ result. And then what's going to happen here is you're going to lose weight. You're going to put on more muscle. And then at the end, what we're going to do is we're going to optimize. The massive problem with this is that what you're doing, you're just making feature. Like features are all the things that come with it. You get one call a week. You get 38 meal plans. People don't value features. They value the benefit. So if you speak to what is the end result this is going to allow me to get to, then you're also going to be able to charge more because people start paying for the result they're after. If you're going to book a holiday, you're not going to speak to a travel agent and they're not going to talk to you about the 15-hour flight to Hawaii and the 8-hour stopover and what the airport's like there. And then you're going to have to get on another plane and there's a 4-hour, then you're going to catch a boat and there's a mini transfer. Yes, that's all included. But would you not prefer to hear like, oh, in 4 weeks, you could be like putting your feet in the sand on the beaches of Hawaii, cocktail in hand, just doing whatever the fuck you want. How good would that be? Right? What are people going to perceive the value as more? They're going to be speaking to that desired situation, that benefit of booking with the person. Now, back to this offer, nutrition, training, optimization. Again, one of the things people overlook is you need to create unique selling propositions in each of these. So if we do nutrition, what's going to happen here is you're going to need to name this in a way that is different to what everyone else does and why you are the solution for it. For example, here, if your first one is nutrition, it's going to be like fitness foundations, right? Let's use that for an example. We put a little TM next to it, so it's an actual thing. And what's in fitness foundations is, now this is the frame you're going to see. What others, why that's slow, you better. Okay? So I'll break this down for you. In fitness foundations, what other programs and coaches do is they're going to give you a cookie cutter system, a meal plan, a weight plan, and you're going to have to be forced to follow that even if you don't enjoy it. And why this usually doesn't work is because it hasn't been built around the human, right? If you don't enjoy kettlebell workouts, if you don't enjoy HIIT workouts, how long are you going to do that for until you stop that momentum and going towards that, right? So what we do is, that's why that's slow. What we do is we take the human and prioritize them first. So we look at every single area of your life, how much time you have, responsibilities, your stress load, what your sleep's like, what your past experience in the gym, what you have available to you. And we take all of this and we create a tailored program to you. So you know how earlier you said that like motivation was a big key driver for you and you just can't get the motivation? Well, one of the reasons is you had too much resistance between executing on the plan, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to show you how to get 5 hours of training every single week, no matter how busy you are, no matter where you're at in the world, with a simple, repeatable system. Sound good? And this is going to allow you to get the results much, much quicker because A, there's going to be no resistance in your week. B, you're going to be enjoying what you're doing. And C, once you see results, you're going to love it even more and you're probably going to want to do more, right? Sound good? That is how we fix a pillar. And the same thing is going to go through all of these. So with this, you can really call it anything you want. Like maybe we just call this the muscle method. Use ChatGPT. You can come up with better names than this. I'm just making them on the fly, right? What most other programs do is they force you down the path of just a copy and paste templated training program. The problem with this is they don't assess your mobility, your past injuries, and then also they don't go through a testing phase with you as well. The reason this won't work over a long time and why this is actually slow is because when they don't deeply understand your body, your experiences, and where you're currently at, they'll be building programs from a place of guess. What we do differently is we go through a mobility, we go through a testing, and we go through a deep analysis of your past experiences to know what your best lifts have been, what that looked like. Do you even have experience? So we can project and identify what's going to happen as you go through this program. So the changes we make now are going to make sure that your body is in the best shape it can be the whole way through. And we already know what's going to happen. So when we can move and adjust from that place, it's going to make the workout so much more easier for you. You're going to enjoy the progress and you're not going to have any injuries moving through. How's that sound? Does that sound good? Cool. And this is better because it just gets you faster results in every single area as you go through. The last one is going to be the third phase, which is the optimization phase. So you'll find eventually like you'll get to a certain goal, but what happens is you get bored of the same workouts, the same diets, the same nutrition, and then you start to plateau and you lose motivation, right? So what we do every 6 weeks, we'll have a custom game plan call for you. And so we're going to jump on the call. We're going to look at your whole 6 weeks of data and we're going to build out a new one moving forward to make sure you're enjoying every aspect of it, to make sure your sleep is going to be better. We're now going to be optimizing your hormones, your sleep, your energy levels. We're going to be optimizing all your supplements, your nutrition. So you know how good that's going to feel when you lose that first 5 kilos. Well, as we keep going on, you're going to feel better and better and better because we keep optimizing as we go. What a lot of other programs do is they'll just put you again at the start of the wheel and you'll go through that process again. And that's how you can speak more to the benefits as you go through. Now, this will be later on when you go through the pitch. If you're speaking to nutrition, training, and optimization as your pillars, what's going to happen here is these pillars are going to dictate the questions you ask. Okay, so when you ask questions, you're going to be asking questions about their nutrition, about their training, and so like their supplements and like the optimizing we were speaking about before. So you're not going to get on the call and ask them, like, what do you do for work and how's the workload? Like, you're going to ask them like what they do for work and how far they drive to work and how far that is and what do they do on the weekends with their kids. Like, it's all irrelevant. So you're going to be asking questions like, well, Jeff, like, what do you currently eat on a day-to-day? And how long have you been tracking your food for? Have you tracked your food before? How does eating that kind of breakfast make you feel? Have you tried nutritional plans before? Okay, you have. What have they been like? What's been the results? What did you spend? What would you like the results to be? What do you feel is missing? What do you feel you would want in a perfect meal plan? Cool. Now, you're not going to ask them all bang, bang, bang like that, but these are going to be areas we start to touch on as we go through the call. The next part, we might start speak to their training. So we want to understand, like, how long have you spent in the gym before? Do you have any experience in the gym? What equipment do you have accessible to you? What have you tried before? How's that been? What does that feel like to lose that 10 kilos back then? What is your energy like? What is your libido like? Like, what do you enjoy training? These are all things we want to know. And then when we go to a supplement optimize phase, we can start to speak into the consistent and long-term benefits of all different areas of life, the relationships, business, and their day to day. Even if you have the perfect sales script, you're asking from a place of knowing the answer you want, and that's why you're guiding them in that direction. So that's going to be the 3 pillars that you need to build out for your program. And it's very, very important that you have those 3 pillars, because instead of you rambling for 45 minutes or 20 minutes telling them every single thing you've got in your program, you can do a short, sharp, and concise breakdown of what that is, and then they will know if it's for them. The reason I don't like scripts for pillars and I prefer a framework like this is because if I'm speaking to Jeff on the call and he's telling me specific things, like he just hates prepackaged meals, he hates having to do meal prep, all these things, what I'm going to do in the first fitness foundations, what I'm going to do is explain to him that, like, what we do here is we actually can link you with local providers in your area to have meal plans delivered to your door every single week. So you don't have to worry about any of that. Sound good? Now, that is something you could do on the fly, or that is something you could have in your program. And all that would be like a PDF sheet with a bunch of options and a list there. That's why you can be more fluid on the calls. The same with the training. Like, we're not going to go through, and if Jeff's goal all of a sudden is on the call to put on 10 kilos of lean muscle, and our whole training thing is talking about fat loss and doing cardio and that, if that's your script, you don't know what to say then. If you speak to the framework, it's like, well, what a lot of people do is when you're looking to put muscle on, they don't deeply understand your experience. We don't go through a testing phase. What we do differently is we go through all of that. So then that's going to allow you to stack muscle on really quick, hold it, and then progress as we go. This is why frameworks are so important. And this comes when your skill sets get better as well. So let's do one more example to offer. I'm going to give you a business development offer because it's essentially similar to what I run, so we can move through it really fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the first pillar, which for me is going to be the hybrid offer, the CTS lead engine, and then the last is going to be an optimization phase, right? Won't go too deep into that. So in our first pillar, what we're going to do is we're going to help you build out a hybrid offer. What most coaches and consultants will push you down the path of doing like a low ticket membership or a low ticket course. And the perceived idea of selling this, it's actually perceived a lot easier to sell, but the truth is it's not. Because you need a huge ton of traffic and volume of people coming to your page, going through your websites, wherever that conversion place is for you, doing a ton of like sales calls, jumping on calls like this right now, all to sell a $40 or $100 program. It's not scalable, and it actually doesn't work because you need a huge amount of trust in the space to sell these on autopilot while you're sleeping. What I do differently is that we create a hybrid offer. We can leverage high value, low cost assets, which I help you build, meaning you get your time back and you get better results and more impact for your clients. Eventually, we get you to a place where you can sell a $3,000 offer in the DMs with someone just sending you, I'm in. How's that sound? Sound good? Cool. The reason this works so well is because we feel what I see and what I know in the market right now is a trust deficit. We get you to a place which takes us through to the second pillar. The second pillar, which is the CTS lead engine. What we do is we build certainty, trust, and we get sales in the door, filling that trust deficit I was speaking about before. What most coaches and programs will push you towards is that you need to post 5 times a day, you need to get 38 YouTube videos, you need to send 100 cold DMs every single day. The reality is that's not true because you haven't built trust in the way it needs to be. So what we do is we show you how to create content that will develop that trust, build that rapport and that connection with your audience. And this is why I've been able to scale to 30K months with like 7,000 or 8,000 followers, and I only get a couple hundred views on every video. The other thing we do in here is I actually bring my editing and creative team into the picture. I personally train them up myself. I've been a creative director for years, and you get access to them. When you come on the inside, you get 20 pieces of content. We'll make them for you. We'll show you how to do research, find viral posts, viral ideas. re-script them, re-speak them, and create them in your brand, and then you send them off to them, they'll create them, they'll have that done. Why I do this? Well, it gives you your time back. I don't want coaches, consultants, whatever it is you're doing to be hindered by the fact you need to sit there and figure out how to use an editing tool, right? When we get high quality content up there quickly and fast so we can have your page as a landing page looking great, that's when we turn on the lead engine. This is when we can really start the lead engine. This is when we start sending traffic directly to your IG page. And it's an organic, trusting way because the process we have is it's just very easy to build rapport in the DMs, get them on calls and close them there. You don't need a landing page. You don't need a website. You don't need any techie things on the back end. It's very lean. That's why we can get results for you very, very quick. In the optimization phase, what most programs do is they put you in a group call with like 100 people, 20 people on a group call. And yeah, the information's good, but it's not tailored specifically to you. I only work one-on-one with everyone that comes on the inside. You don't get passed off to a support coach getting paid, $40,000, $50,000 a year. I work with you one-on-one with every single person. Why I do this? Because I know how important proximity is. When you're trying to build momentum, you want to have someone who knows the exact steps moving forward, because so often business owners will confuse movement for progress. Busy doing 100 different things, but then what happens here is it breeds uncertainty because you don't get results. Working one-on-one with me, we're going to get results much, much faster, and it's going to be like having an executive business coach in your back pocket. Sound good? Cool. That is how I would lay out a pitch. That is how I lay out a pitch for what it is I do, and that's the reason why I get definitive yes or no's at the end, because people know exactly what it is I do, what we're building towards, or if they know it's not for them. So there's two different examples of how to build out your offers and your pillars. We've gone over intro and pre-frame. We've gone over the discovery, your 3 pillars, the program overview, and this is where we get into the close. Okay? Most of the time, this is where a lot of people feel like this is where they win the sale. Most of the time, if you've done these top 3 well, you will be getting a lot less resistance at the end of the call. So in review, the biggest things you need to make sure you're dialed in on is that A, you have certainty you can deliver the thing. If you're working for a company and you're doing closing, ask them to show you more testimonials. Ask to see more of the results the program gets. If you're selling your own product or service, you need to have certainty you can get the person results. Otherwise, it will not be conveyed. And if you believe your program is too expensive, when someone gives you the objection like, gee, Mikkel, that sounds expensive, you're going to think to yourself, yeah, it is a bit too expensive, isn't it? You might not say that, but then you're not going to be able to help paint the picture and shift their perspective to get them over the line. The next part is better understanding discovery. This is a game of being a human. The more you can deeply understand someone and someone feel like they're heard, they're seen, and they're understood, the more they're going to trust you and the higher chance they're going to be to give you their money. Sales used to feel really, really icky to me when I first started because I had a preconceived idea of who a salesman is. This like slimy guy in the used car lot that comes up and sells you a ute for $10,000 above what you should have paid for it. But that's my experience. That was my journey. Ethical sales can be the catalyst for someone building and growing a brand new life, business, deeply connecting a relationship, whatever it is, the service you do on the back end. You sometimes can be the missing link between where they are to where they want to be just because you're able to allow them to open up, share, and you can help them progress down the path of what they want. Now, there's only going to be 4 objections you ever get at the end of a sales call. I'm going to link up a video here and I'm going to walk you through all of these. I'm going to give you the frames to better understand them, to overcome the objections, and to help you close more deals and make more money. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again soon.